Dragon Age the Veilguard was supposed to be one of the largest video game releases of the year, and you really would expect it to be. It is in an existing franchise that a lot of people love. It is an EA and Bioware title, and it had a lot of free press. But now it is getting absolutely humiliated by, of all games, Farming Simulator 25. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, simulator games are extremely popular, but you would have expected Dragon Age the Veilguard, a game people have been waiting 9 years for, to do a little bit better and actually put up a little bit of competition against Farming Simulator 25, but that actually is not the case. This is a Fandom Pulse article. It says Dragon Age the Veilguard got absolutely humiliated by Farming Simulator 25. Giant Software released Farming Simulator 25 on Steam on November 12th for $49.99, just $10 less than Dragon Age the Veilguard. And obviously, $10 is a bit of a difference, going from $50 to $60. And of course, if you're on console, Veilguard is $70. But it is getting absolutely pummeled right now by this simulator game. So obviously, Dragon Age the Veilguard released 11 days ago. So we have a single player game that, yes, of course, people are going to play, and then they're inevitably going to leave. That's going to happen no matter what title. It doesn't matter if it's the best of the best, like a Hogwarts Legacy or a Stellar Blade or a Black Myth Wukong. People come and people go. They only return when there is DLC or they want to replay it, and we know Veilguard's not getting any DLC, but the all-time peak was 89,418 players, and right now in game is 27,373. Now, the fact that this could not even hit 100K is bonkers in my opinion, because we're talking about an EA Bioware game. I used to love Bioware. So many people used to love Bioware, but they definitely have fallen with all of the terrible titles they've released, like Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda. But we, of course, have an existing franchise that people have known. We've been waiting 9 years for this game just for it to come out and be filled to the brim with identity politics, using modern day terminology like transgender, non-binary, forcing you to pick your pronouns. All pretty ridiculous things to put in a fantasy dragon game. But now, on the flip side, we have Farming Simulator, a game with absolutely no rhetoric, no narrative, just you on your farm. And in-game right now is 107,047 players, and the all-time peak was on release day 2 days ago at 126,761, which is just so funny to me seeing these numbers. We are talking about a 40,000 player difference here. This is absolutely spectacular to see. It just proves that people want genuinely fun entertainment. People don't constantly want narratives thrown in their faces. People just want to relax. People want to play video games because they are a form of escapism. And if in Dragon Age the Veilguard, you of course could have these, as a toggle, turn on and off, all of the identity politics, that would be one thing, but of course that's not the case. Though, on the flip side, identity politics is not the only thing that killed Veilguard. It, in totality, was just a very disappointing game. They should have followed Solas's story. They should have made you, chase him around Thetis. That does not happen. They should have picked better companions. They should have actually made them feel like human beings instead of, walking messages and tokens. But we're also just talking about a very forgettable game at the end of the day. It didn't feel like Dragon Age, in my opinion. Dragon Age used to be very jagged, very gritty. And while, yes, you were always the hero, you could be a bad person. And you cannot be within Veilguard. You have to be nice basically at all times, and almost none of your decisions actually matter until you get to the very end. And spoiler alert, there's a big Mass Effect 2-esque scene where you have to, put your companions into a certain action and they could potentially die. It just in totality is not a very fun game. It gets very repetitive very quickly, and to see it get kind of decimated by farming simulators, hilarious. Now, obviously, we don't have the console numbers, and we're never going to get the console numbers for either of these titles. The best idea that we'll have as to how many Veilguard sold is if it underperformed or overperformed, if they tell us. And of course, with Farming Simulator, we're probably never going to know console numbers, but we have the Steam charts and we can directly compare, and seeing this happen is super funny to me. Now, going back to the article, Veilguard, of course, has not done particularly well, as we've established, but on top of it being humiliated by Farming Simulator 25, a new rumor claims that the game has officially crossed over 1 million units sold. It was previously rumored that the game had only sold about 500,000 units. Endymion had shared in total. What I'm being told is that Veilguard may have sold overall so far anyway in the 500,000 range, but we're hearing something a little bit different, and that ultimately it's at about 1 million at this point in time, which I definitely could believe. I'm not saying 1 million is absolutely nothing, but it's just not what you would expect when you're looking at a franchise with multiple games that people have loved in the past. And of course, despite allegedly surpassing 1 million units sold, the game still likely needs to sell millions of more units in order to break even, given it was in development for nearly 10 years and went through multiple iterations before becoming Dragon Age: The Veilguard. It's quite likely that the game has underperformed EA's sales expectations for the game. Now, we, again, are never going to know the exact numbers unless they decide that they want to boast, but I do not think that we are talking about a game that has sold that many copies. But 10 years is a very, very long time, and you would expect it to do slightly better than it is. And EA's chief financial officer, Stuart Canfield, had shared during the company's most recent quarterly earnings call that the company was expecting net bookings for the current quarter to be between 2.4 billion and 2.55 billion, with it largely being driven by Veilguard and the EA Sports FC franchise. So will this actually happen? I don't think so at this point, and we are talking about games here that are kind of made for different audiences, right? I'm sure that there is some crossover between Veilguard players and Farming Simulator 25 players. Like, look at me, I play all different sorts of games, but at the end of the day, I do think that they are slightly different audiences. Farming Simulator players probably just continue to play it throughout the year and then buy the newest one when it releases. A lot of players do that with, sports games, for example, like FIFA. But it is great to see Veilguard get absolutely humiliated by a game like Farming Simulator, so I will continue to keep my eye on this, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.